Welcome once again, my friends, and thank you for stopping by to listen to an old storyteller. Today we have a story from Laos, and the title of this story is Mr. Lazybones. Under a wild fig tree there lived a man called Mr. Lazybones. He had received this name from his neighbors because he was never known to have worked a day in his life. He did not even plant or hunt his food, but rather would lie all day under the fig tree and wait for the fruit to fall into his mouth. All the people scorned him and would sometimes throw rocks and dirt at him, but he was too lazy to defend himself. One day a great wind blew some of his figs into a nearby stream. They floated downstream. The king's niece was sitting by the water, and when she saw the figs float by, she picked one up and ate it. That was the most delicious fruit she had ever tasted, and she vowed she would marry the man to whom the figs belonged. She told her uncle of the vow, and he promised her they would try to find the man who owned the tree so she could marry. The king ordered all fig growers to bring a sample of their fruit to the court. The king's niece tasted all the figs that were brought to court, but none tasted like the one she had found in the stream. The king then inquired whether there were any fig trees in the land that had not been sampled by his niece. The people told him the only other fig tree in the land was that of Mr. Lazybones, who was too lazy to make the journey to court. When the niece heard this, she decided she would go herself and taste Mr. Lazybones' figs. When she had tasted the fruit, she knew at once that this was the tree and the man she sought. The king was very upset that his niece was going to marry such a lazy good-for-nothing, but he had given his word, so he could not object. He allowed his niece to marry Mr. Lazybones, but he refused to let them live at the palace, and he cut off his niece's inheritance. So they were married, and lived happily for a time. The girl was very kind to her husband, and together they lived under the fig tree and enjoyed the delicious fruit. Then one day misfortune struck. The fig tree stopped bearing fruit, and the wife became very ill. Mr. Lazybones was very upset because he realized he had come to love his wife very much. Never before had anyone been so kind to him or taken such good care of him. He knew he would have to work to keep his wife alive, but he did not care because for the first time in his life, he had something to work for. He tried very hard to make his wife comfortable and then set to planting new fig trees. Many new fig trees began to grow, the land prospered, and his wife got well. When the king learned of the work that Mr. Lazybones had done and of the loving care he had shown his niece, he restored his niece's inheritance and asked the couple to live with him at the palace. At the palace, Mr. Lazybones was able to live a life of ease and comfort once again, and once again did not have to work. He would often think to himself, "When I was poor and lazy, they called me Mr. Lazybones and scorned me. But now that I am rich and lazy, they call me Prince and revere me." And when this thought came into his head, Mr. Lazybones would laugh quietly to himself at the foolishness of life.
Thank you once again for listening to this story. If you enjoyed this story, please press that like button. Also, please help an old storyteller out by subscribing to my channel. The next story will be posted in a few days, so until then, may your story continue to be a good one.